Well, hello everyone. It's week 9 of J Talk. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your wonderful, wonderful host, Joshua Michael Harper, writer of Dizzy, joined by my esteemed co-host, J1
The writer and creator of Infinite the Journey, J1 Hero. Thanks for coming out again to another week of the J Talk podcast. This is episode number 9.
Nombre 9, J. Nombre 9.
Nombre 9.
Name 9. No, but we're just here. We're having a chill podcast this week. We were talking about it beforehand.
Sorta.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes later, but we just wanted to take a week, and honestly, we were talking about this, 5 minutes ago, Jay, and we kind of had this moment where it's like, neither of us really thought we'd be here every week doing the podcast. Whether it's not about people listening, but that we'd be dedicated to something, keeping that deadline, keeping it strict, building it into a habit and stuff. I honestly thought we were going to lose steam around episode 5 or 6, but we're still going strong.
Yeah, despite the success that we would have, I mean, not even the success, but just despite the fact of the turnout, we didn't know where it was going to go versus we didn't believe we were going to be here. You know, we expected that we had the capability of doing it. It's just you never really know till you do it. So it's like to know that we took that leap of faith into going to this process. It's actually worked out for the better. It's been a great routine for us, and it's actually proven better for me in my life, you know, as far as accountability goes and responsibility, and it just helps instill that hard work mentality that both of us have in being independent creators and so on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to piggyback off that, one more thing too. Like I've been reading lately, and I read, I think it's Words for Pictures by Brian Michael Bendis. And me and Josh may not be the most talented or the most prodigious of the artistic community or the writer community, but it was really cool to hear this, where he said there's artist A and then there's artist B, and that artist A and artist B were going through the process of trying to make it or break it into the comic industry or whatever, what have you. And you get to artist A that has now gone through 50 rejections. And then they get to the point where they say, you know what, I'm done. I quit. I give up. Most talented person out of the two that could have literally made it by his talent alone if he had got the right chance, but he wasn't the right person. You know, you have the talent, but you don't have the heart. You know, you got the cape, but you're not the hero. So to watch A leave at 50, whereas B is on on rejection 100, and he finally gets his break. And then all of that time he's put into it, he's done one valuable thing that me and Josh have covered multiple times. He's gained experience and he's failed. And from failure has learned to take that failure and rise above it. So whatever we have our downfalls from our journeys, as far as our comics go, and this podcast, it's only doing nothing but making us into better versions of ourselves. And I'm grateful for it. Like I said, I'm grateful for Josh pushing me to do this. So I thank you, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not want to do this with anyone else. It's been a really good learning experience for me, keeping me focused, keeping me honest. It's been good. Again, it's like part of it is like we get on hangouts and stuff with people all the time, and it's not really putting yourself out there, though. And this is one of those, I'm very timid, as you know. I might not come across as timid, but Jay, you can attest, I'm very timid. I don't communicate with people. I don't even post comic updates on my Facebook page half the time because I don't want to intrude on someone's life. I don't want to be that guy in the band that everyone knows. But this is good for me. You know, this is a good way of putting myself out there, getting me more comfortable with the idea. So I'm really glad we got this opportunity. Even if we never end today, even if we end today, and never do a podcast again, it was a good learning experience. Having said that, we've had some really cool people on the show. We got some even cooler people playing. No offense to the people that have been on. I didn't mean it like that, but no, really cool people from before, really cool people in the future. And honestly, at the very least, I think my favorite part has been meeting those people, at Nicholas.
You cut out. Sorry.
I did. Oh, shoot. What's up with my internet, man? I thought we fixed this. No, it's been cool getting to meet all the people, having all our moments, and the pre-show and the post-show where we just hang out for a little bit and talk, and meeting all the cool people like Mikhail, Nicholas. We got Cameron. We got Cortland Ellis.
Yep.
Yeah, some really cool people. We got some really cool people.
DeSantis.
We had James DeSantis, dude. That guy's a blast. I love him. I'm my label mate. It's no, I'm excited for the future. Hopefully, it's got some good things in store. I know it's got some good things in store for us. I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as we do. However, I noticed at some point this past week, we talk a lot about our own personal projects, right, Jay? We talk about Infinite and Dizzy a lot, right?
Yeah, we do. We kind of mentioned it or we referenced to it.
Yeah.
We never really like delved into it per se.
So I thought it'd be cool if we could just give a quick intro before we get into the meat of our topic and to discuss our basic stories. Not really discuss them, more or less just lay out the basic premise of it that we're trying to set up. So are you down with that, Jay?
Let's do it.
All right, I'll go ahead. So I'm going to set the stage for you guys. City of San Jacinto. These people have been acting as superheroes here for about a year.
Give them a little bit more energy, Josh. Come on, be excited about your own
it's stuff, a Chillcast. Man. It's a Chillcast, man. All right, so, here we go, Jay. You ready? Need some energy.
I'm ready. Okay.
All right, let's do this. So it takes place in the city of San Jacinto, and it follows 3 superheroes. They've been patrolling the area for about a year now, and they're under the impression that they're the only ones with superpowers. They have this. Yeah, absolutely. Some of you might not know that. If you can find out more if you read online. But they have this idea that they're the only ones with powers, and all of a sudden something happens. Something starts clicking, and puzzle pieces start falling into place. They meet people with powers. They have to actually go to bat, and they have to have their powers and their abilities and their relationships put to the test in a superhero fashion. In what other way? But you got, they're very normal people, except for the superpowers. And all of a sudden, one day, everything they know for the past year is just turned on its head. And so it follows Miranda, King, Sylph, and Nate. Those are the 4 main characters. And they're like this team of superheroes. I like to think of them like the Teen Titans. I've always been a huge fan of Teen Titans, so that was a huge inspiration for me.
So you're paying homage.
Yeah, a bit of it. Yeah, some of the stuff I put in, like they have this place they go to. It's like a skyscraper, and it's kind of like my reference to Titan's Tower. It's the best I could do. But I always thought the idea of Titan's Tower was cool and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some homage in there. You'll see bits and pieces of it as the story progresses. But they're like this Teen Titans meets this Avatar: The Last Airbender style story. That's about all I can give you right now. I would love if you could go online and read more and more of Dizzy. It comes out every Friday, a new page every week. If you are lucky, there might be a couple extra pages in the next few weeks. I've got some stuff planned I'm trying to do, so hopefully I can get more pages out on a weekly basis. But I hope you enjoy it, and you can check it out. I'll have links in the description of my comic. And you can always ask me any questions about it on Twitter. So, Jay?
Perfect. Thank you, Josh, for sharing that. That's really cool to be able to, delve a little bit into your story and let people know about the world of Dizzy.
Yeah.
And even being honest with yourself that, you really aren't the type of person that be creatively foolish and put it out there. But, I mean, to know that you're at least attempting to do so is great as well. Again, like I said, I love the premise of Dizzy. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, especially with more of the things that I'm surprised you didn't really go into, like with your whole reason for wanting to do Dizzy, your whole meaning for Dizzy, the universe, and so on and so forth. Like, those are things that are really the meat and bones that really sell you and sell the people on connecting to you to move forward with your story, besides the basics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe, tell you what, here, I'll get more creatively foolish. So part of the thing with Dizzy and part of the thing that makes it bigger is that the goal is to eventually, like, my reason for being is I love superhero stories. My reason for writing Dizzy is I love superhero stories. Like I said, Teen Titans, I collect all the backlogs I can. I go to my comic book store and I always cycle through their bins, and I'm always like, Teen Titans, Teen Titans, Teen Titans. So that was a big inspiration for me. And I would really, 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 if I'm lucky, if I'm fortunate, I want to make a story that feels a lot like the Teen Titans cartoon that I grew up watching, that when I was a kid I really liked. I know it's not everyone's favorite iteration of the Teen Titans. It's not even my favorite iteration of the Teen Titans, but I think that is the most fun, the most exciting version of the Teen Titans. And it deals with a lot of things. I really enjoyed it. So that's my goal. Some of my reasons is I want to make a story that's fun, that's got that same energy, and I love the superhero stories. So that's my big end game here, to say the least. As Jay mentioned, there's some cool stuff coming in the works. I like my powers and stuff, all this stuff. You'll see me mention a word. It's like Hrall, H''RALL. That's like, give me 2 chapters, and I'm gonna open up that world for you. Give me just a little bit, and I'm gonna get those gears grinding. I'm gonna open up the world dizzy bigger than you'd ever expect.
And that's fair. Like I said, I just wanted you to give people a little bit of more of a relative factor, to connect to you. Because even if they don't, vibe with the story, if they can vibe and connect with you, then you've got somebody that's there for you. And just because your reason for doing something could be a lot stronger than the story itself. You know what I mean? So that's like a lot of people still follow like Ichiro Oda or a lot of the other top mangaka because of the work that they put in, not the story, but the fact that they're still going to this day, that they're coming out of the hospital and going back to work for the fans. So it's like, those personal things that would really truly build your character and make people want to read your story. Kind of like I don't know if you noticed that post I put up the other day where it's like we all come into life as our own story, but it's our job to make sure that we leave a legend. So you've already started you came into your life and your story. You're starting on your way to become a legend, and when it's done and you've achieved what you wanted to, Joshua, you'll be a legend like everyone else that's following the same path. All of you that are creating, you'll be your own legend in your own way.
On our way to being legends. Like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Jay.
Enough of my soapbox speech.
There's more of that coming later. I have no doubt. So why don't you go ahead and tell me about Infinite?
Infinite, the journey. Oh boy. It started out as just Infinite. And the reason for it was because the quote came to mind of never being complacent in your own abilities, aspiring to be more, because I got to a point in my life where I was just completely complacent. I didn't, really have any motivation to move forward. And then, a light went off in my head. And it switched everything else about me to want to be something more. And to find my meaning, find my reason for existing. And then it became to create, to motivate and inspire. So when I noticed that was it, on top of the fact that I'm a huge fan of epic journeys, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Naruto, and among the other manga, Infinite became quickly a manga-inspired adventure. That is truly what it's about. And you follow Keiō Shinsei, who is the main character, or the protagonist if you choose. He was okay with being just a farmer, taking care of his brother and sister, living life, making sure that they were going to be better. But he was okay with just being blah. And then all of a sudden, Destiny knocks on the door one night and says, I think you're a little bit destined for more, and we're going to make you become more. We're not even going to give you the option to just be bland or be okay anymore. So then he gets his world turned upside down in the worst way, and it sets him off on the journey of a lifetime to become a guardian, as he's surrounded by the guardians of the very same world that he kind of just iced himself out of and thought it was just a fantasy. He thought it was a myth. He's like, yeah, sure, I heard the stories as a child. I hear the stories to the day. I've never really seen them. Don't really care to. And all of a sudden, now he's on that same road to become one. That's pretty much the gist of it so far, because you really watch him on a journey to become a guardian, but you watch all the other characters that tie into his journey that are trying to finish their own things. Some want to become guardians themselves. Some want to become better people. Some want to become a better son. Some want to become a better father. Some want to become their own person, So that's why I mean, like, all of the character arcs and plots and things involved with Infinite tied to the central theme of aspiring to be more. So that's why I wanted to do Infinite. And that's what Infinite's pretty much about. You know, it's got the outside look of the manga and the action stories that you may know, but uh, it's really centered around that theme. So it's like you got everything you know and love in it, with just a little bit more at the heart and center.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually really enjoy Infinite. We talk about it in depth a lot. We're very open with our ideas a lot, and we share them when we're in hangouts and whatnot. And I think the thing I respect about a lot of the Infinite is Jay, since the beginning, has always been trying new things. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but I think even in the beginning, you said one of the first scenes when he's angry, when KO's angry. I don't want to spoil too much, so you go ahead and read it. But that was like a very much your way of, even in the beginning, tackling tropes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tackling, like trying to break the trope, because I mean that was another reason that provoked me to do Infinite. It was like one of my friends said it after he kind of read the first chapter. He came to me and said, "You're trying to make a realistic story in a fantasy world. How?" And it was just like, well, it's different. You know, if people like it, great. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, that's fair. No, but I really like your approach to like we're not gonna follow the same distinct tropes. We're gonna
Even
do
if it looks the same.
yeah, even if it looks the same, we're gonna blaze our own trail. So yeah, and
Yeah, I
Jay,
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, which kind of leads us into our topic for today. Now, Jay, you want to host this if I'm not mistaken. You gotta, you
Yeah,
gotta,
yeah, I
you
do.
got a little grievance you want to air. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna throw the ball to Jay. Jay, ready? Catch the host ball. I'm throwing it. Got it.
Got it.
All right. All right. You got the reins now, buddy boy. Now you take it away. What's our subject for tonight?
Oh boy. This with the recent thunder mega super ultra storm that has taken the internet by force. With the reaction of Batman versus Superman, it struck a bad nerve and left a bad taste in my mouth with mainstream, the industry, the entertainment industry alone, and their pitfalls and downfalls and errors. And that really left a bad taste in my mouth, because there are so many great tales that they've come across that they've either just destroyed or tried to milk for the wrong amount of money. Whereas us as independent creators, all of you, me, Josh, have our own stories that we want to tell, and there may be a lot of us that never get the chance for the world to see them, but they're probably more of a greater story than what Hollywood is willing to put out. So that struck deep with me. And like I said, going into it, it's the first point of my whole discussion is like Hollywood pitfalls and errors. And the first one would be the reboot syndrome. You know, their whole "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" mentality. You know, they would rather go to the same well and beat on a dead horse and pull, what little water they have left from a dry well, instead of going for a new one because it's too far. Or, oh well, what about the cost of, or what about the risk of, or if we do that we may upset. So, and it's like, you guys are so, it's weird how it's preached around the world to never fear failure, but they'd rather fear the failure and limit their success and just take what they can get, and then we reward them for that behavior. What do you think about that, Josh?
I think that it extends far beyond just Hollywood. You've heard me talk about this before, and it's kind of a bit of a topical point at this moment, but and this is a bit of a controversial thing. I hope I don't upset anyone or offend you, but I think that you see it a lot when people talk about changing characters, like Falcon becoming Captain America, Thor becoming a woman, Wally West being black now, Simon Baz being the new Green Lantern. I have no problem with these characters as characters. My problem is that it's just a redoing of another hero. It's not really and that's been a big part of the nature of superheroes. You can argue for as long as superheroes have existed, they've always been redoing them. But I think that you're kind of reaching this point of capacity. And honestly, the characters have become pretty forgetful, you know? It's no, I don't know how you feel about it, Jay, but I feel like honestly, when they change the characters like this, it's just detrimental. It's not even like it's the because again, the characters can always go away. Like we saw it with Simon Baz, the Muslim Green Lantern. Cool character. I actually really like him. Well, it is a very controversial figure. Some people don't like him, but I liked him. And the thing is DC wasn't seeing popularity with him, so they axed him. They didn't actually axe him. They gave him to the Justice League, which is more or less the kiss of death. You know, you saw it with Animal Man. When someone goes and joins the Justice League, it was kind of like they were done with their own comics. And I think you're seeing that a lot play out. That's a form you're seeing play out of the milk and the horse, milk and the cow, if you will. I don't know. You see what I mean? You get my point?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's become very detrimental. But that's become the way the world is that, I mean, if you want diversity and representation in a comic, you're not going to get it through getting good original characters. You're going to get it through rebranding other characters. That will eventually go away. You'll get eventually one of those characters will cease to exist, and either it's the old one, in which case you're getting rid of not thousands, but you're getting rid of like hundreds of comics of hundreds of movies or hundreds of whatever. You're getting rid of all this information about that hero, and then you're going to get the new one. Or if you do the new one, it's not really that character. You're taking everything from another hero and giving it to a character, and they don't really have an identity.
Yeah, you decrease the value of that character, that history, everything about that character, because you're trying to make a new way to make an impact or money. And Michelle Rodriguez said that. She's like, why is everybody so bent out of shape about wanting to make these heroes black, or make this hero Mexican, or make this hero Asian, or make this hero German or Russian, or whatever the case may be, when in reality, all we have to do as people that want to see that, make our own heroes. Make heroes of that thing and make them original and make them to have their own history. Don't take somebody that's been this way since the beginning of their creation. That's honestly, there's certain heroes they won't touch. But there's certain heroes that they will. They'll make sure that there's a Superman, but they'll make sure that the other one is in another universe that's not really as important than the main one. But they haven't touched Batman yet. They haven't changed Batman to Black Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shout out to Anthony Piper for doing Trill League and making Batman Black Mane and Superman Swole Mane. But as far as mainstream go, that's independent though. Independent is going to be far more edgy than mainstream. But as far as they go, they're like, well, there's certain things we won't do. So in reality, you will never really get a true reason for why you change a character 360. Like, there's no reason why you should ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that's one of the things that bothers me about the Hollywood meta, is that it's really not even worth, to some people, it's not even worth rebranding the hero. It's just worth picking what you feel is the quintessential version of that hero and just condensing it, like you saw with Batman versus Superman. Some spoiler alerts here. I don't mind Batman killing, but we talk about like when he kills in the movie. There's a scene that's mimicked off of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, where he bursts through a wall and he grabs someone with a gun and he kills someone. Now, in the comic, that had a lot more impact. I mean, if you wanted to read about this, I would recommend talking to Dan Slott on Twitter about it, the Superman writer. But he makes this amazing case about how it's up until that point, Batman had been breaking guns, ruining things, giving false fake outs of he's got a gun. Oh, just kidding, it's a grapple gun. Just kidding, it's this. And when you kind of just like take these bits and pieces of characters, you see how poorly it can be portrayed sometimes. Like with this new Batman. Again, no problem with the Batman that's different. I have a problem with the Batman that's not a good version of that Batman, because he basically ripped off certain aspects of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight without, he took the bad stuff. He took certain things and didn't take everything he needed to make it work. And that's how I feel a lot of Hollywood and comics have become, is we're taking these good things, but require other things to work. And so in the end, it really doesn't work. Like you saw it with Man of Steel, you saw it with this, you saw it with his Avengers, Age of Ultron. you're taking bits and pieces of things that work good as a whole, but when you take some certain bits and pieces of it out, you kind of break the machine.
Right. And it's them thinking of the whole mentality, and it's funny. I don't know if you are a big fan of wrestling, but wrestling is another thing that's suffering tremendously as far as entertainment goes because the corporate minds that think they know what's best for business, they will love to do what's best for business, and then they upset people. They turn people off. Like me and my friends, we only watch the pay-per-views now because we're like that's the only thing worth watching. To watch all of those horrible storylines lead up to something of an entertaining spectacle of a pay-per-view. But to know that they have a lot of underused talent that they don't think can fit the bill as the faces for what they want, they would rather, spin over the same John Cena, da, 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 and Triple H, the game, and these are the people that are actually in control of what we will get from mainstream, and then they would continuously give us that. They'd give us that till their dying day, and we'd never truly get what we deserve or what we feel like should be out there. And especially as I know as creators, it's a lot of times you sit there and do that. That's one of the reasons why I am creating is because I watch so many movies and so many TV shows. I'm like, I wonder what would have happened if it went this way. I wonder what would have happened if it had went this way. Avatar, the movie Avatar with the blue folks. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I thought it was going to be about two different people from two different clans that were trying to find love, of a forbidden love, to be with each other and be together to save their planet while the war was ravaging it. I feel like that would have been way more of an easier story to tell, and it would have been way more of an epic story versus we're trying to take your land and we're going to kill you for it. Sorry, you're going to feel bad. That's a spoiler alert for people that haven't seen that since 2009. But
you're really to that party.
But that's the thing that I really I don't like that mainstream or corporate in general have guidelines to follow. They'd rather follow those guidelines to a T and make what they think is a safe bet versus going out for it. Being the man with no fear. Daredevil fans out there, season 1 and 2 are awesome. I hear. But yeah, they'd rather water down a great movie and make bad choices, bad casting choices. Oh, let's change, Chris Evans' Johnny Storm to Michael B. Jordan's Johnny Storm, and let's change Doctor Doom from Doctor Doom to Nurse Doom. Let's give you a bunch of bright colors and a bunch of one-liners and funny lines. Marvel. It's just crazy to know that once they find something that they think works, that they'll keep doing it. You take really, there's a lot of good movies out there. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can find that have really good concepts and ideas, but they fail in the making of the movie. And again, back to casting choices, choosing Zack Snyder for that kind of movie, maybe that wasn't the best bet. Zack Snyder is a guy that needs about 3 or 4 hours of a movie to give you a really good movie where you go, okay, I spent, $14, $10 on a ticket. I feel justified now, but for him trying to do that, he's better off going to write books or doing TV. If he did a TV series, I'm pretty sure he'd do a lot better. Honestly, I think he has enough time to do what he wants to do. Movies isn't his thing, and they picked the wrong person for it. Sorry, but that's not to be blamed on Ben Affleck or Henry Cavill or the writers of DC. It's to be blamed on corporate for making those decisions. Find better people that really know what they're doing. Last thing, and I'll let you take the reins too, but in certain art schools or certain schools for creative writing and comics, the money that you pay, you're paying in hopes of getting success, but you're being taught by somebody that has no official experience in your field. Whereas in certain schools, when you pay that money, you're being taught by somebody that's currently actively in the field. So if I'm going for comic book writing or creative writing, I want a person in front of me that's had the experience, that can prove it, or that is in the same field with that experience, because that is way more of a beneficial thing. So imagine if you had people that were still creating, that hadn't made it, that hadn't hung up their capes or hung up their boots to just be corporate suits, that were actually in the field, still making stuff, that were in charge of mainstream media. It'd be a big difference. you wouldn't have the Todd McFarlanes and the Jim Lees sitting up in the office saying, this is what we're going to do, guys, and this, that, and the third. Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane are still in the field. They're still competing. They're still in the field. They're still competing. So if anybody gives any kind of insight, it'd be them that I'd listen to. You know, a lot of the writers, a lot of those people. If those people were in the heads, and you wonder why Image Comics is doing better or on the rise to do better, because it's the guys that are still in the field, that are still working, that are doing it. Jim Lee's the only one that kind of quote unquote made it. He's the vice president over at DC Comics. Good job. But think about that. If we, like, for instance, if an independent community started tomorrow and all of us got together and we all did this, and there were 5 people at the head, 5 Hokage, if you will, at the head, that were still in the field, still creating, and that were on some form of success, we'd all be a heck of a lot better, because they know that they would take the risk, that they would give us that chance, that they would do a lot better, you know. So that's why I feel like independent is way better right now. And the market is completely wide open for those that want to pursue it with Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and just the internet alone. It's a really big tool, from comic conventions to so on and so forth.
Yeah, I read the other day, I can't remember who said it. Someone said, I mean, now, ironically, now's the time. There's never been a better time to be a reader of comics, but not mainstream comics, Image Comics, things like Tapastic, indie comics of any kind, really. You know, there's never been a better time to have access to those. You know, what a time to be alive, right? We got all these new original ideas popping up left and right. There's a story for everyone out there, and Kickstarter and GoFundMe, Indiegogo, they've all made it that much easier to do it. You know, so I agree with you. I think part of the problem is, in fact, the creators themselves, because the reason we the reason people like DC and Marvel are so big is because there's security under them. You're all, you know, there's much more security under than under DC than there is under Image, for example. You know, your job at Image is kind of in flux. You know, your job as an indie creator is kind of in flux if you are an indie creator. If you make your living off of Patreon, your Patreon could disappear one day. You could accidentally do something. You could violate the terms of service, and all of a sudden that's it. Your Patreon's gone. You can never get a new one. You know, it's so easy to lose, I guess. And I think that it's easier to just go to DC or Marvel and commit to exclusivity at those big companies than it is to say, I'm going to tough it, I'm going to rough it. You know? Jay?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. I didn't know if you were finished or not.
No, I'm curious. What do you think about that? Like, do you think that part of it is to blame on people that want security? I'm not slamming anyone that wants that, by the way. I completely understand.
Yes, I do. Anybody and everybody that talks about whether it's freelance or whether it's really going for it, it always comes down to security. You know, even with me in the work field, it's like every day I have to make sure I have a job of security so that I can do what I want to do, because, you know, that's the easier route. Which is why it's like, as long as I'm doing what I truly want to do, I enjoy it. But I think that's what happens. You know, like in Hollywood, they're like, dude, we're secure with this. We know this works. Look at the long line of movies we put out, and these idiots have bought into it with the same plot, the same characters, the same this. Hence why they've made Terminator after Terminator after Terminator. They've made different rehash. They even, to know that Hangover made it to a third movie, I'm devastated, because the first one was good. That was it. There's nothing else to tell. There's nothing else you could have done. You should have taken that movie a little longer and did more in that movie versus doing 3 of them. But they're like, well, we made money, so let's do a second one. What did everybody do? They went out and saw it. It was horrible. What happened to the third one? They went out and saw it. It was horrible. And then they say, okay, we're done. But that's literally what I mean about rewarding them for bad behavior. It's like that stuff's okay to do in everyone else's eyes, because they don't know they don't know what's good or what's bad, I guess. And that's one of the downfalls of being a creator, is that you look at the world and what they enjoy and what they like, and you're like, really? You know, like you liked Game of Thrones because they were fearless enough to kill off their characters. You know, you like The Walking Dead because you don't know who's gonna die next, but you don't like something like what? Like, well, I don't know why people don't like Lost. I've never really watched it, but I can't really speak on that one. But people don't like Lost, or people didn't like Heroes. And it's like, even Heroes is a prime example. They were doing really good with their original content, and then Hollywood probably came in with their influence and said, let's change this around and do that and do this and add this in and add that in, and then boom. But at the end of the day, we don't really know that. But a lot of times they always go with the safer bet in hopes that that'll get them over what they need. And that's honest. That's the guy's honest truth in my eyes. I think that's what happens. They're like, we'd rather go with what we know what's going to work or what's worked in the past than to try something different because we'd rather do that. And
Yeah.
I think that's what happened with DC. They could have done exactly what people would have wanted, and they didn't, and it ended up backfiring really bad because they didn't really do it. They didn't go all out. They kind of tried to play it safe, but go all out. You can't go either way. You got to go one way or the other.
Yeah. See, I think that DC made a big mistake with Batman versus Superman because a lot of people complained about Man of Steel. Very vocal, you know, and it's still, what is it? Batman versus Superman still suffers from the same problems that Man of Steel suffers from, I feel like. And I'm amazed that it's still, it's like The Hangover. Like, at what hangover do you stop? You know, it's just bad. It's not enjoyable, and it still gets made, and people still go see it. I'll be honest, like, I'm gonna go see Suicide Squad. I've been more excited for that than I have Batman versus Superman, but it's the same company. It could have the same problems. It could have the same shortfalls. And I'm voting with my wallet, as people like to say. So it's tough. I like the idea of Suicide Squad. I like the idea of a Harley Quinn movie. But I don't know. You know, it's like, at what point are we done with the rehashing? I'm worried. That's my big fear with Suicide Squad is it's just like someone saw The Dark Knight and basically ripped off a bunch of good stuff in it, but didn't take everything and just kind of makes a movie out of it. That's my big fear, you know? So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to have faith in Hollywood right now, I think. And I'm not slamming on Zack Snyder. I think he makes specific films. I don't really enjoy his style, but I think he makes specific films. The problem I have with Hollywood is how divisive it is. Like, we have multiple friends. I know people that I see on Facebook. I don't know if you see them. But a lot of people have those friends that are posting nonstop, like, forget about the critics, forget about this. It was a movie for the fans, like with Batman versus Superman. And that's the bad approach to take, I think, is to say, because, like, it's been a very divisive film in general, but I've been called a fake fan of Batman because I didn't like the movie. And that's like, it's territory it's entering bad territory is when you don't, it's not even that it's not even changing anymore, that it feels stale, it's run out, it's just bad. It's that not only is it bad, but people are defending it and saying you're not really a real fan if you don't like it. And so we're entering a dangerous area for me. Like, Jay, you've been on the soapbox for years. Since I've met you, you've been anti-mainstream. And I've always kind of been like, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but it's getting to the point where I'm like, there's some serious problems happening with mainstream right now that need to be addressed. And that if you try to address them, or if you try to talk about them, you're a fake opposer, you know? What do you think about that?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry. My sister just messaged me.
Oh, no problem. Basically, people are getting called posers for not liking Batman versus Superman. And it's that we're so ingrained in Hollywood being the be-all, end-all that a lot of people have just taken this very animalistic sense of defense against people that dislike these movies. Like I said today, I was in the comic book store. I got called a fake fan because I didn't like Batman versus Superman. You know? It's...
No,
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say now that's not really like fair to say because just because now okay that's just like saying you're gonna support your friend for doing wrong to his girlfriend behind her back, but that's your boy though. You know that's the code. You're supposed to just supposed to support him, and it's like no, I'm a fan of what I know Batman stands for, what I know that character, what I know that universe, that story stands for. That was not a part of that universe, that character, nor story by any means. I appreciate it, I acknowledge it, but that doesn't mean I'm all go gadget crazy for it. And that's fair to say. You can say I appreciated it. It was cool. It was cool. It was a good twist. It was a good take, whatever the case may be. But I don't have to go head over heels, fall in love with it.
Yeah, and that's my big problem is that we're entering this era where if you don't like something, you're a hater. That is and it's just very. It's not just in Hollywood, really. It's like everywhere. But it's you. People have been divided, and
Yeah.
excuse me, and Hollywood, I feel, is perpetuating that a little bit in the area of entertainment. Hollywood has perpetuated it by saying, "This is what we're gonna make. You can either like it or you don't like it."
Exactly, and that's what I can't I just can't I don't like that at all.
Yeah, it's honestly just like, shoot, man. I don't know. It's kind of scary, but for me, it's like it's been going on for years. I'm probably not going to be the one to end it. Probably not going to be the one to take part in it. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to not let anyone tell me not to do it. I think that's the best they can do. Like, what do you feel? Like, what do you think is the best you can do to prevent yourself from falling into that trap?
You know what? It's really crazy that it's very simple in my eyes. I may be wrong. I may be right. I don't know. But as far as my eyes go, it's about what you're telling it for, why you're telling it. You know, like if they're doing all these superhero movies, it's clear that they're doing it because it's a huge market for them. It's a lot of money for them. They're gonna cash in on that. Whereas when we tell something because we want to. You know, it's kind of like if we were just telling original stories from the get go. Again, like how you talked about creating comics for another person, it's doing professional fan art. We, as writers, we get hired by DC or we get hired by Marvel. We're doing it because they're like, this is what sells and this is what you're going to make. Versus when you
Mm-hmm.
go independent, you're like, this is what I want to tell and this is how I want to tell it, regardless if it sells or not. Could you imagine a world where the entertainment industry said, let's tell true, real, original, and raw stuff, no matter what it sells like? If the world wasn't based off the bottom dollar, the bottom line that needed to be made to make something, if income or money wasn't a factor, could you imagine the stuff we'd see? Yes, a lot of it would be bad, but there'll be a lot of good too. I know there's certain guidelines and there's certain rules and things put into place uh, for to prevent, I guess, from bad movies happening. But it's like, what happens when the infrastructure starts to crumble from the inside? All of those guidelines and those rules that have been made are still producing the stuff that you guys say you don't want your viewers to get, but they're getting it. You know that this isn't the first flop. You know this isn't the first movie that's done. I mean that's done bad as far as content wise. Regardless if it does $1 billion a year, you're right. You're wide. You know, it's a tough one. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like as far as independent creators go, find the best way that you can creatively create independently for you and what you want to tell. And it really goes off the topics because honestly, like I was just talking about that with superheroes, how many different variations of a story could you do? Let's move on to talk about Marvel's Rebirth. I'm sorry, DC's
DC's.
Rebirth. DC's Rebirth. Okay, you're rebirthing people. You're going to do a rebirth of the universe. Okay, Marvel just did Secret Wars, right? And they started a new universe as well.
Yes, it's worth pointing out that prior to Secret Wars, DC less than a year ago also did Convergence, which was kind of like a soft reboot, I guess, or maybe this is the soft reboot and that was the hard reboot. One of them was the reboot, though.
Yep. And I feel like when they're doing, if you're gonna take, characters and you're gonna change the entire universe around again, take a little bit more time. Find every avenue and angle possible that's true to the character versus what you think is going to make money. That's what I don't get, is that they'll go from the content, the idea, the lore, and everything else that's truly why the people are there, and focus on what they think is going to make them money. Like for everybody that I talk to about Batman per se, to say, oh man, volume 1, oh, quarter hours, whoo, man, mwah, piece de la resistance. And then the rest of them, they're like, yeah, cool, okay. Meanwhile, everybody that's reading Saga, every volume, they're like, oh my God, I love it. It's awesome. And right now I'm talking to you guys. Seems like Joshua dropped off. I don't know why, but hopefully he comes back. I'll figure out what's going on with him. But moving forward, you got independent stories that are moving people. I'd rather tell something of an independent story or pay attention to something that's independent, because I think that there's some raw talent or something meaningful behind it, versus where I know when I see mainstream, all I'm going to expect is what they think I want. So that's where my biggest thing comes from between mainstream and independent. You got people that are willing to take risk and tell what they want to tell, and they have no guidelines. So it's completely pure, raw, and uncut for them. Looks like Josh's internet has just dropped. So I am going to be filling in, I guess, the rest of this podcast till he either joins back in or not. But yeah, so DC does a rebirth of their universe. And now we're going to go through different retellings of the superheroes we already know. Just a different what if scenario. That's pretty much what I believe these rebirths are. Okay, well, we had Superman come in here and do this and that. We've had Batman do this. We've had Green Lantern do this. We've had Wonder Woman do this. But what if? Oh, that's a good what if. We should use that what if for this hero. Well, that's a good what if too. We should use that for this hero. And so now it's like, let's go ahead and do it. When in reality, I think outside of the true comic book fans that are really there, that's stuff that will turn them off, that will turn them away. It's like, dude, I was already in love with the character. Now you're just trying to make me fall in love with him again for whatever reason to get more money from me. I'm okay. Which leads me to the superhero market. It's beginning to fail in certain areas because they're just taking everything that they possibly can with a superhero on it and trying to make something of it to make the money, because it's what's going on right now. And going into the movie the cinematic universe, as far as comics go, there's only a certain amount of heroes that I personally believe should be made into film. Not everybody in the superhero universe is going to translate over to films. I think DC is going to have a harder time with it because a lot of their heroes are, gods and angels and super beings and aliens and so forth, whereas Marvel has a lot more of the realistic characters that are easily relatable and so on and so forth, with a hint of superhuman ability and things like that. You think about why Thor was less successful, where Captain America shined. You know what I mean? So that's that. Moving forward, again, I'm a really big fan. And I've started to become a really big fan of independent stories, because I feel like they have way more character in them. They're being told from someone's heart, from someone's soul, from someone else's mind. Welcome back, Josh. Thank you for joining. I've been manning the helm. I kind of finished my whole talk on the Marvel Rebirth, and I finished my whole talk on the superhero market and its failing areas. And even how certain heroes should be brought into the cinematic universe. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to touch on any of that, but I was just going into how independent is the route for me and why I enjoy independent.
No, I actually like to talk about the superheroes, if you don't mind.
Take it away.
I think it's important to note that you do get original stories within the circle of superheroes. Like Batman, Court of Owls was really good, as Joe was saying. A lot of people relate Court of Owls. Completely original idea. It's implemented with Batman. That was a story that Scott Snyder wanted to tell. Talon is another really good one. Animal Man. Omega Men currently. And Omega Men was canceled, and it had such a good people were like, no, don't cancel. This is a really good story, and DC brought it back. So you still can get that. It's not like it's far gone, but you got to make sure you fight for it, because you've seen it happen with Talon, with Animal Man, like I said. 2 very big series that kind of disappeared into oblivion. They were actually fairly popular. I had one other thing I wanted to say. It's left my mind. When you're creating independent, keep in mind that it's not about the base story you tell. Like, I write a superhero story. Jay, you write an adventure manga, basically. No offense. I'm not like belittling it, but I'm saying they're very, on the outset, very mainstream ideas. But it's how we tell that story that matters. Like Batman and Court of Owls, great original concept, great idea. But it's a Batman story, so it's mainstream, right? No, it was an original idea. It was told through the lens of Scott Snyder. He's a really good writer. It was a story he wanted to tell. And it was original. It wasn't the Riddler's broken out of prison, Joker's broken out of prison, and we got to worry about this. Mr. Freeze is on his way to the bank to make horrible ice puns. No, it was this new story. No one had heard of the Court of Owls, completely original idea, and it was really well done. And that's a Batman story that's mainstream. You can still write. What I'm saying is you can have these ideas that you might feel are mainstream, but don't feel like you can't write them. That's your story to tell. That's your story to tell. Like, no one can take that away from you. It's about all I had to say. So sorry about that.
It's just like, and honestly, I feel like if half the people that weren't accustomed to corporate guidelines and stuff like that were to make superhero stories, they'd probably be a lot better than some of the ones that are mainstream. There are those creators that are really, really good and they're really appreciated, but there are those that aren't so much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anyway, so sorry about that and for disappearing there, but I'm back and I will let you continue.
Cool. Well, no, that was pretty much it. That I feel like not even mainstream. When you work for some people that keep you on a leash, you really can't fully create. It's kind of like working with somebody over your shoulder telling you, nope, that's wrong, do it this way. Nope, that's right, do it that way. Nope, that's wrong, do it that way. Versus where you have places like Image or a lot of other independent publishers that will give the creator full reins. I like it. I want it. I'm your investor. I support you. I'll give you what you need. Just keep doing what you're doing, and we love it. That's where the home of independent comics has really taken off. Kickstarter being another viable option. Well, shoot, I couldn't get published. I couldn't get an investor. Let me take it to the world and see if it's something that's worth telling. I'm going to tell the story the way I want to, and that's that. I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to do that. And I think that ends up being a lot better in a more natural sense as far as storytelling, because I'd rather enjoy a natural story, even if it's not the best, than something that follows a certain formula. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've even had a lot of creative friends that have said that when you're reading something or you're enjoying a story and you feel like it's going from point A to point B to point C to point D systematically, you already know and you become disinterested because you can predict it. But when it's going from point A to point A.1 to point A.2 to point A.3, then eventually they get to B. That's where they went, hey, okay, so we see the path is B. Let's blaze a little trail this way. Then let's go that way. And then you get an adventure and it feels more natural. Even though it is systematic, you are following the plot formation. But being able to do that, to explore, is what really sets it apart.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one of my big problems with Batman versus Superman. It was they tried to pack so much in there that it became this scavenger hunt of gotta do this scene and then this scene and this scene and this scene and this scene, and it just felt like it was like exactly like a paint by numbers story. Like you knew exactly what was going to happen when it was going to happen. So, basically, I agree with you completely and wholeheartedly.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much that. I mean, besides the immense amount of hype around the new announcements for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah,
that
Jay.
has set the internet ablaze. The YouTube is live streaming right now, and we missed it to be here with you fine folks because we love you and because YouTube will actually let us watch it later on. So forget that second part. The first part's more important. It's because we're here because we love you.
Yeah.
And Josh, you wanted to say something too?
Did I want to say it? I'll let you say it. F it. Nick Draper, the guy who is that one guy, you might know him. We're gonna give him a shout out because
Talking about Spider-Man?
Spider-Man. I mean Miles Morales.
Aha.
No, he is. We had him on about fan art, right? Didn't we, Jay? If I recall correctly.
Yes.
Right? You're talking about fan art and how a lot of people don't feel like fan art doesn't get them anywhere. Well, this guy Nick Draper, he made a piece of Final Fantasy artwork, and Square Enix saw it, and it was announced earlier today that he will be in the Square Enix Final Fantasy 15 calendar. He will be the month of May. His piece of fan art, right? I think that's correct. Am I wrong, Jay?
No, you're right. You're right on the money with that for sure, because that's exactly what happened. He definitely ended up into the calendar in the month of May, to be exact. It was a contest they launched, and they wanted to get a lot of fan art based around the upcoming game. And yeah, that's really what ended up happening. He ended up inside of that from doing fan art. They caught his attention for a contest, and yeah, congratulations, man. That's amazing.
Seriously.
Yeah, I don't really know what else to say besides, oh my God, that's amazing. I mean, it's not really much you really could say.
Yeah, no, like, it's awesome. We're really happy for you, man. That's the dream, I guess. For a lot of people, that's exactly what they want. And, he was on here. He talked about Square Enix and said how much he liked it. So I'm sure this means a lot to him. So why don't you go ahead? If you listen, why don't you go ahead and give him a congratulations? But yeah, I think that's really cool. So, all right. I think that's it for this week. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I think we covered enough. With independent, mainstream, Hollywood, Batman versus Superman. We got our tidbits in for Batman versus Superman. Join the bandwagon. Hardy har har. It was really just more like that was a catalyst to go into a very important a topic that I wanted to discuss as far as getting it off my chest and getting it out of my head. Again, all of my intentions for anything like that are to always try to help and somebody else in another area that could be a downfall for them. Like I said, we're still in this together. We're all in this together. We walk together. We shine together. We grind together. But if it can help, it can help. And a shout out to everybody that's been reaching out to us, or to me, as Joshua likes to put it, for enjoying the podcast. Show Joshua some love. He needs some love. I give him all the love I can, but anybody that's creating, we all. I can talk for hours about creativity, so please look forward to more of the podcast from us. We do have some really cool things lined up. It's going to be a lot more fun coming. Not as far as like anything super, super cool, but pretty cool by our standards, because again, we never knew we'd get this far to know where we're going.
Yeah, we need a bit of a soft reset. Like I said, this is our rebirth, our Secret Wars. We just needed a little bit of a chill day. A day where we can talk about things. And I'm glad we did today as the chill day, because little did I know my internet would crash. Glad to know that it didn't happen next week, because I'm really excited for next week. It's going to be a really good episode. I hope you're here for it. I'm not going to say anything about it. Well, should I, Jay? No? All right.
It's still up in the air, kind of, sort of, but we kind of got it under control.
The next 2 weeks, I'm really excited for. Like, I know, like, when people say, yo, we're just taking a minute to sit down and relax and rethink things, they usually mean they're coming to the end of something. Nah, we're hitting it full force next week, hopefully. And the week after that, and the week after that, and the next month is going to be really good. So I'm really excited. I know Jay's really excited. We talk about it all the time. So we're back. We're coming back with a vengeance. So I hope you're excited. as much as I am, if you can tell by my voice. No, but I believe that'll be it for this week. Jay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I pretty much did what I had to do, said what I had to say. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. My name is Joshua Harper. I am the writer and creator of the comic Dizzy. You can check out Tapastic. I am joined always by my esteemed co-host, Jerry One Hero.
Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate it. And the two books that I did mention as far as writing for comics goes, pictures, words for pictures, and then also Blake Snyder's Save the Cat. Joshua mentioned that a while back. Two really good reads as far as formatting and writing a story. Really could help you out a lot. I definitely recommend you checking those out. And go read Dizzy. Go read Infinite the Journey. We greatly appreciate it if you do. Tell us if it's good or if it's not. And yeah.
Yo, I just want to brag about something really quick. I know we're ending, but I just want to brag about something. I was popular on Tapastic the other night, Jay. It was the first time it happened. Oh my gosh, I didn't even believe it.
That's yeah. I mean, for that website, that's huge. But again, that's a whole nother topic that can come up. Having a home for serious stories and so on and so forth. So yeah, till next time.
Yo, can of worms, Jay. Can of worms. All right, Joshua Harper, Jerry One here. You can check us on the internet, and we'll see you folks next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Greatness lives within.